Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's State of Robotics webinar presented by Digital Dream Labs. We're going to give attendees a few more minutes. Looks like we still have people trickling in. All right, again, everyone, thank you for giving us an hour of your day today. My name is Matt Ersel, and I want to welcome you to the State of Robotics webinar for January 2022. I am joined today by my colleagues Jacob Hanchar, Robbie Bassard, and Sam Nolan. I will be bringing them on here in a little bit. But before we get into that, I'd like to go through a few housekeeping tips to help you get the most out of today's webinar. Please note that all attendees will be muted throughout the presentation, and we would ask that you use the Q&A feature in this Zoom webinar to interact with our team and ask any questions you might have. We will be sharing a recording of the webinar after the conclusion, and we'd also ask that you take a few minutes after the webinar is completed to let us know how we did and let us know how we could improve these presentations moving forward. So again, I want to welcome Jacob, Robbie, and Sam. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, Matt. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So we have a busy presentation today. We have made a few changes to our typical outline for the agenda, and really excited to bring in some of the team that are helping us ensure manufacturing excellence. And we're going to give some time to them at the end of the session so that we can have a roundtable discussion and really talk about how we are working to ensure excellence with Cozmo and Vector and all of our other products that are now going into production. But we're going to start today's webinar with the Butter Robot. And for that, I'm going to ask Sam Nolan, one of our lead hardware engineers, if he could join us to talk about the Butter Robot and some of the updates that we have on the manufacturing side for that product. Sam?
Yeah, thanks so much, Matt. Great to be here. Thanks everybody for taking some time out of your day to come and listen to us talk about our products. So I am the senior mechanical engineer. Most of my day revolves around Butter Robot, which has been a great amount of fun since I've been here. It's something we've been working on for a while. We're really excited to get it in everybody's hands. It's no secret that we've had global supply shortages and a lot of roadblocks because of that. But during that time, we've taken it upon ourselves to make a lot of mechanical improvements while we were waiting on our supplies. We really enhanced the stability, the durability, the expressiveness, and just the overall capabilities of the Butter Robot. And we're really excited that we can bring it to the state that it's in today.
Yeah, excellent.
Go ahead.
Well, no, yeah. So I guess I think you might actually be able to show some of the attendees today specifically what went into making those changes. I know that we found some areas for improvement when we received some of the early prototypes, and I think based on some of the reports I've seen, we have a much more capable Butter Robot moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got one here on my desk, and this began its life as one of our first painted prototypes that was kind of a representation of what we were going to be getting. And like you said, we found a lot of areas for improvement, and now you can see sort of how little of it is still painted. That's really the massive amount of upgrades we've done to this since we've gotten it. A couple of the main things: we've made the base a little bit taller. It's going to improve stability a lot. This was a cartoon, so they didn't have the constraints of designing it to be, apply the laws of physics to it. So it was very top heavy, and we took the time to make the base a little bit taller, give it some more stability so it doesn't just land on its face when it's on your table. We had a lot of scope creep. It's a large project, and you have that sometimes. We've taken the time to kind of reverse some of that and minimize a lot of potential failure modes that we saw, and kind of remove a lot of unnecessary complexity in mechanical systems overall. And it's going to give a much more robust product that is going to last a lot longer. And through the process of that reverse scope creep, we've actually enabled a much greater range of motion on the joints. So now the arms actually have full 360-degree, motion, which we did not have before. And I think it's going to be a much more expressive robot because of that. In addition to the garbage brain that Brian's been working on a lot, it's going to be a really expressive and fun robot.
Yeah.
We've also replaced all the motors as well, which is they're gonna be much more powerful motors, and they're gonna give you much better battery life and just have a better product overall. Go ahead, Matt.
Right. Yeah. No. And so you mentioned the range of motion on the Butter Robot's arms. I think originally the design was that it would give what?
It was like 75 degrees of motion or so. So really, the Butter Robot would only bring its arms to about there, and then back down to vertical.
Which is sufficient to pass butter, but I think we had, and our partners at Adult Swim, we have a vision for the Butter Robot to do much more than just pass butter. And so I think, that's going to be something that's a big improvement for customers when they have the Butter Robot in their home. You also mentioned that it's now using much more robust motors. And I believe, when we've talked with Brian in the past, we've mentioned that these motors give us the ability to take advantage of regenerative braking. I think a lot of people are going to think about electric cars, but that also plays into this increased stability that we're talking about for the Butter Robot. Can you explain that?
Yeah, certainly. So with the motors we're using, basically we're able to, like you said, use regenerative braking and allow us to actually brake the motors to give it some rigidity, and I think it's also going to allow a little bit more expressiveness as well, because you're gonna be able to interact with it in a much more natural way. It's not just gonna flop at your hands. It's gonna be a much more rigid product, and it's gonna be fun to interact with for sure.
Excellent. And as you mentioned, while we're waiting now on some of the new tooling to be completed and receive new components for inspection, the software team are still working to improve Garbage Brain and the mobile app experience. So development is definitely ongoing, even while we're waiting for our manufacturing partners to deliver some of the new components.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just spoke with our manufacturing partners both yesterday and today, and everything's looking great. They're well on their way to delivering us parts, and we're really, really excited to have them here in the shop.
Excellent. No, great. I can't wait to, I pre-ordered Butter Robot, and I can't wait to have it passing butter on my kitchen table.
Yeah, absolutely. Me either.
And so again, I think, right now, Sam, what we're really waiting for is the delivery of those new retooled components, and having the opportunity to do first article inspection on those. Jacob, you might want to join us for this part of the conversation, but we don't have or we're not in a position today, because of some of the instability we've seen in the past, to project delivery dates. But once we go into production, similar to what we've done with Cozmo and Vector, we will be able to share that timeline with pre-order customers. Jacob, I know we were talking in the green room, and I think we have anticipated that we might have a completed robot to show customers in March. Are you able to speak to that at all?
Yeah, and Sam, I just want to give a lot of credit to the Butter Robot team and Sam and Brian for really pushing through the constraints we were dealing with, I'm very proud of everybody. The major issues with the servos that we had, the tightness, the clearance, all these things that to most people would be mundane or nitpicky are important for the functionality and long-term use of the robot. And it's just fun to see how it has evolved the course of a few months. So hats off there. So we have a really advanced robot that I think was initially, at least we were interpreting it more as kind of like a fun toy. It is the next step in AI as luck would have it. So
Yeah, I think Jake. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think your audio froze there, Jacob.
How about now? Is it any better?
Yeah. Yep. You can hear you now. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm here in the office and it's saying the internet connection is unstable. So we'll wing it. The major hurdles are finished now. So we have tooling that's open. The tooling's all paid for. We have all the mechanics essentially are taken care of. It's full speed ahead. So at the moment now we're addressing a couple things. What are the capabilities of the electronics? Do we really want to have two chips, or are we running with one chip? How robust of the electronics do we want to have? And I have a feeling things are going to end up being extremely robust. I think we're going to decide on having two chips running simultaneously. So all that is to say, we'll have the electronics sorted out probably around March, and that's whenever we're going to get it in the hands of all of our partners, Adult Swim, Warner Brothers, Justin Roiland, and Cartoon Network, all of those people, and get their sign off. And at that point, we're going to be rocking and rolling with manufacturing. So I'm thinking March-ish to nail down everything from the functionality standpoint with the electronics, but then soon after we're ready to manufacture at mass scale. So it's the light is at the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. It has arrived, ladies and gentlemen.
And I think, if Sam, you can join us back in now. I hope everybody can see sharing some photos of the tooling for the Butter Robot. And I don't know, Sam, if you could help our audience understand a little bit more what we're looking at in these photos.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a photo of the injection molding tool for the treads for Butter Robot. You can see on the left-hand section of steel, there's two circles with 3 lines in them. Those are the actual cavities for the tread molds. So essentially, they will clamp this together in a large injection molding. They'll inject in our material for the treads. They'll let it cool and pop them out, and there's Butter Robot treads. So this is just a photo that our manufacturing partner was able to share with us from some of the tooling. And there's the back end of the mold, just to kind of show their progress and show, they obviously have several more tools than this that are ready to go. I think this is just the one that was probably sitting in front of them at the time, but that's what we're looking at.
Excellent. No, we had a couple questions come in, and I do encourage attendees to share any questions that you might have throughout the presentation today. But I wanted to ask you a couple questions, Sam. I think during the last webinar, some of the attendees, we had some Butter Robot audio that we had shared in a clip, and one of the attendees mentioned that they had a little bit of a difficult time understanding the Butter Robot, and just ask, what are the team doing to improve his voice and that experience? And I know that Brian and the software team, are trying to balance something that is very authentic to the animated series, while making sure that customers can clearly understand what the Butter Robot is trying to tell them, because it's going to say much more than just the handful of lines that it had during those episodes that appeared on Rick and Morty.
Yeah, absolutely. So the audio in the video that we shared during the last webinar was coming from a very early pre-production speaker. It did not represent actual production. So they're going to be much more audible than what that video portrayed. And yeah, as far as the garbage brain and the things that he's going to be saying, I've been helping a little bit with that, or at least kind of eavesdropping on the software guys, and it cracks me up. I am so excited to get my hands on one of these, because the things you hear this say are out of this world. I mean, I have been laughing hysterically every time I got my hands on one. So we're really excited to get them out there and let everybody hear it. But safe to say, it's definitely going to be more audible than that video was, and you won't have any problems hearing it.
Great to hear. And we have a couple other Butter Robot related questions. Todd, who's an attendee today, asked how many degrees of freedom does the Butter Robot's body have? So I suppose, Sam, bending at its waist.
Yeah, so it has an articulation here, and then it has a full 360-degree articulation of the arms, and then it has the treads. That's
Excellent,
going to
thank
be
you.
the points of motion.
All right, great. All right, well then please keep those questions coming in, and we will be.
There's also a twisting, I'm sorry, I mentioned that. So it does twist the body left and right this way as well. All the things that we've showed in the video, obviously.
Yeah. All right, great. And again, please keep those questions coming in. We will be having a live Q&A at the end for any questions that we weren't able to get to. But at this time, just going to ask Robbie Sard, our head of customer experience, if he can join me. And we're going to give a quick update on Cozmo and Vector. Hey, Robbie.
Good afternoon, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. All right, so we've got a lot going on with both Cozmo and Vector. And let's get started with Vector. Vector lives, and celebrating the 2-year anniversary of the Vector Unleashed Kickstarter campaign. We've made a couple of very sought after products available to existing and potentially future Vector owners. What are those, and why should maybe community members consider taking advantage of these offers?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're offering the lifetime Vector membership as well as a 3-year extended warranty. The Vector membership for a lifetime license is one of those things that is very kind of hard to come by, and is generally offered for sale only on certain, fairly sporadically. But this gives you a lot of benefits. It allows you for a one-time payment. It allows you access to the cloud server and all of the features and updates through newer firmware, as well as priority support and a couple of other benefits. I actually have a support article that I wrote on this and all of the benefits that you can get with the lifetime Vector membership. So I'll go ahead and I'll drop a link down to that in chat here in a second. The 3-year extended warranty will actually provide you with parts and labor through our repair center for Vector and Cozmo that is going to be launched here shortly. We're waiting on a couple of shipments of supplies for those, but once we have those shipments, everything else is set, and the repair center is basically ready to go. Other than that, so we'll keep the community appraised on updates in terms of those shipments arriving and when those repair centers open. But we did want to mention that the extended warranty does not actually take effect until the repair center is open, so you don't lose any sort of time, even if you purchase, if you purchase now. That sale will be running until January 31st, and I think that pretty much covers most everything about Vector Lives. But we're really glad to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of the Kickstarter and bringing these, kind of relaunching these products and bringing these back to life. So I hope everybody is able to take advantage of that while it lasts.
Yeah, absolutely, Robbie. And we have had a couple questions come in, both from attendees today and in the pre-screening questionnaire about the Vector Lives campaign and that lifetime Vector membership specifically. And so, we had one question from attendee who asked, I was a Kickstarter backer for the Vector Unleashed campaign. Do I need to purchase a lifetime Vector membership?
That is a great question. So Kickstarters already have this lifetime membership. Every single level with the Kickstarters was covered by at least five licenses of the lifetime Vector membership. Some of the higher levels were covered by 15 mix and match licenses from lifetime membership, Escape Pod, and Oscar, and you can choose how you want to distribute those licenses. But overall, Kickstarters are definitely covered. They don't have to participate in this sale. We do encourage them to take part in the hardware warranty if they wish to. That way, they can keep their buddy running for as long as they want, and kind of go forward from there. But in terms of the lifetime membership, that was definitely built into the Kickstarter, and that's something you're still definitely covered under.
Absolutely. And I think we had a couple questions come in just now for customers who've pre-ordered Vector 2.0, and they have similar questions. Should they take advantage of this limited time offer for the Vector lifetime membership?
Absolutely. So the way that this will work is once we've shipped out your particular order for Vector 2.0, you'll get a tracking number. And then once you get your unit in hand, you'll be able to see the serial number and provide that to us to fulfill for your Vector 2.0. So if you weren't able to get in on that pre-order window where we offered lifetime access for the pre-orders, now when you reserve your robot and it's shipped, you'll be able to fulfill we'll be able to fulfill that as long as we have your serial number. So if you missed that window, you can definitely get in here. And like I said, it's going to be open until January 31st.
Yeah, and I think it bears repeating that if customers were able to pre-order Vector during that pre-order window before June 12th of last year, that we are extending a lifetime Vector membership to all of those customers. And so purchasing an additional license for a lifetime Vector membership is not necessary for your new robot. All right, great. Well, then let's talk a little bit more about some of the other updates specifically for Vector. What's going on with Escape Pod, Robbie?
Absolutely. So there's been quite a bit of activity on the Escape Pod. It's all quite on the back end. Basically, so there were a couple of points of the Escape Pod that proved a little bit more tricky for some people with certain networking configurations. So we've made a couple updates as far as that so that people can access the Escape Pod from the IP address. We've also our developer Joseph has been working on quite a bit when it comes to the backend code. There were a few opportunities to optimize the performance of the Escape Pod, and we're also exploring some options for bringing it to other platforms. There's not necessarily any guarantees yet, but one big point of feedback that we received, especially from some of the people that may host their own servers, may have Linux machines already running in the house or something to that effect, was that we could really use expanded support for more hardware options and to run that on more types of native hardware. So we're looking into that, and we're looking into alternate deployment options for Escape Pod to make it easier for those types of people that have those machines already set up, or maybe have already set up Raspberry Pis for other projects, and maybe incorporating this and making it a little bit more accessible to people with different types of hardware. So that's one thing that we're really looking into, and kind of refactoring the code to try to make that a reality. We've also got, there were a couple of questions on, Escape Pod and how you set it up. I'll drop some links over onto the Escape Pod instructions, but I have tons of instructions, including videos, all of my documentation takes you from step 0 to step 100 in terms of setting up the Escape Pod, and it's generally pretty easy to follow. So I will link those as well, and hopefully we can get some additional questions answered in terms of the Escape Pod. There's also a few other things happening. We're looking to bring the Escape Pod into compatibility with the Vector Robot application. So in terms of onboarding your vector onto the escape pod, or getting photos out from vector while he's on the escape pod, things like that you can't do right now or that aren't really supported by the escape pod are something we're really looking into bringing into the application and making that more of a streamlined experience across the board. So those are the two or three things that are kind of going on with the escape pod here at the moment.
Great, thanks, Robbie. And I also understand that we're taking a lot of steps with your team, especially to expand support for not just Cozmo and Vector, but all of Digital Dream Labs products.
Absolutely. So we have a couple of different things that we're doing right now to kind of to increase to expand support. Number one, we're going to expand support hours. Realistically, we have customers all around the globe. We want to make sure that all of them have timely responses to tickets. I went over our statistics for last year, and it was somewhere around 85% of tickets, aroundish, had responses within 24 hours, which is a great standard, right? But at the same time, if we can bring that down, bring that time to response down and allow customers more options to, offer self-help or change their accounts in different ways, then we have projects in the works for making all of those things happen. So we're actually going to be working on onboarding more folks onto the customer experience team. We're going to be training some product experts, and we're also going to be working on, expanding the hours with multiple different shifts for the customer support team and considering weekend hours as well. So those will help with, making sure that people get timely responses, whether they be, here or in Germany or wherever they might be in the world. They'll get a little bit of a faster response from support during their hours there. In terms of the increased documentation, so recently I've actually written 10 to 12 articles on different products that we have here at Digital Dream Labs. And so I'm working on expanding the support center and the knowledge base so that people can have much more clear answers for common questions. We've also restructured the documentation. So the documentation previously was in 3 or 4 different categories, and it seemed like it was still a little bit harder to find information. We've stepped out those categories, and things should be significantly easier to find if you go over to support.digitaldreamlabs.com and look at your particular product. You'll see a significant amount of categories that really kind of drill down and help you understand where certain information is at. So I'm going to continue with restructuring even more and expanding that documentation, but that's something that has been an ongoing effort, and people can always feel free to leave me feedback or make special requests for certain types of documentation. I'll drop a link over to my my GitHub Kanban board that I maintain for the community to see and interact with.
All right, great. Thanks, Robbie. I know we've had a couple questions come in while you were discussing the expanded support for the Vector Lives campaign, the lifetime membership, and the 3-year extended warranty. And one of the attendees has asked, when Digital Dream Labs, when we say it's a lifetime Vector membership, what do we mean by lifetime? And Robbie, I think it's important to note there that the license for that lifetime Vector membership is tied to the user and Absolutely. Not the robot. And so customers cannot transfer that license to another user. However, if for some reason you had to replace a robot, or you have multiple Vector robots and you'd like to transfer a license between those robots, that is something that you could do, correct?
Absolutely. So there were a couple of questions on that policy. So one of the newest articles that I wrote was actually a article on that particular policy itself to clear up any questions. But in short, Matt, you're absolutely right. The lifetime licenses are tied to the user, and they are for the lifetime of the user, or the lifetime of the product support for vector, which, whichever comes first. Realistically, we have no plans to discontinue product support for vector, let me assure you, before that question is even asked, right? But at the same time, we wanted people to really understand what this meant, and what it really encompassed. So I've got full documentation of that policy now on Digital Dream Labs as of a couple of days ago. So I'll go ahead and I'll drop that link there as well so people can read over. But ultimately, while we don't provide support for transferring licenses to other users, I think it's actually really important to note that you're free to gift or share your licenses with close friends, family members, or housemates that that live with you or near you, so that you guys you can enjoy vector together, and it allows for folks to be able to cover multiple vectors easily, even if they're slightly split apart, or maybe not on the same network. So a couple of options there, but like I said, I'll link all of my documentation on that score there. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to submit a ticket over to support@digitaldreamlabs.com. And then I can flesh out that article with any further frequently asked questions as well.
All right, great, Robbie. And one last question about Vector, Liz, before we move on to the next slide. A couple of the attendees from today's webinar have asked, what does that 3-year extended warranty cover?
Yes, the 3-year extended warranty covers everything under our warranty policy and a little bit more. So for instance, previously the warranty policy did not actually cover things like batteries. We've expanded the warranty policy to cover batteries that fail within that 3-year warranty. So batteries are covered, screens are covered, things like, in phase 2 of their repair center, when we actually have more inventory of specific parts, we're looking to cover additional types of repairs, such as lift or arm repairs, maybe even gear and motor repairs, things like that that are going to be in demand for the community. That's still to be sort of fleshed out on the back end a little bit, and some of those repair types will need to be verified and finalized. But ultimately, anything for the most part that isn't due to we're going to have difficulty if your vector was thrown against a wall, right? I would imagine and hope that nobody is doing that, but at the same time, there's a certain limitation that might exist for things like modifying the hardware yourself, like maybe tearing a robot apart and modifying the electronics. That would be really hard for us to go back in and repair. But most things that would happen in normal daily life that could expand the symptoms of a defect, such as a screen issue or things like that, would certainly be covered.
Absolutely. And I think it's also worth noting that if you're a vector owner that maybe has a vector which has a burnout screen or dead battery today, you could buy the 3-year extended warranty today and have that repair covered when the repair center opens. So if there are vector robots out there in need of repair today, this is a great option for customers who would need to take advantage of the repair center anyway. And you also have that extended 3 years beyond that initial repair.
You're absolutely right, Matt. Yeah, if it's broken on day one, we'll cover it on day one. There's no warming period, and I think that is actually one of the best things about the policy. So I really encourage people to take advantage of that. And like I said, we want your vector running as well as you do. And we love seeing people that send in pictures and videos of their vectors, and we want to see those in good health. So please feel free to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Let's transition a little bit over here to some of the recent updates for for Cozmo. I know that the team are working to get an app update out for Cozmo. Robbie, could you give the attendees a little bit more insight into where that is today and when we might expect to see that released?
Yeah, sure. So app update 3.6.0 is currently in quality assurance and quality testing. We are looking to make some performance and back-end bug fixes on this particular update. This is also going to set us up for further things like content updates and that kind of thing in the future. But realistically, we're still kind of laying that groundwork to make sure that developing and updating these apps is a really smooth process. And that's going to hopefully speed things up there in the future as well.
Excellent. And I know the team are doing a lot to improve support for educators and using Cozmo in the classroom. I know last webinar we did kind of announce that the Cosmonaut coding curriculum that we've developed in partnership with the Carnegie Science Center has launched, and we've heard really positive things back from teachers who are already using Cozmo in the classroom in regards to that standards aligned curriculum. But we're also gearing up to improve support for educators in the classroom. So we're going to be announcing classroom bundles, so you can purchase six Cosmos, and get that coding curriculum and some teacher materials included at no extra cost. And we also always have educator discounts and the ability to offer purchase orders. Anyone who is interested in either of those options, please reach out to us at education@digitaldreamlabs.com, and a member of our team will be happy to help you with any of those classroom needs. And then finally, I think, Robbie, we've kind of hit around this a few times already, but the Robot Repair Center is getting very close to opening now, just waiting on a few straggling components that got held up in customs. But we did announce pricing, as you can see on the screen here, $100 for screen replacement, $75 for a new battery, or $20 for robot cleaning. Again, those things add up, and so if customers are interested in that 3-year extended warranty, it's a great opportunity. But what are the other advantages of the DDL Robot Repair Center as opposed to maybe trying to purchase the components yourself and make those repairs? Or obviously there are other people in the community that have done these repairs for some time. What is the DDL advantage here, and why should customers trust us with their robot companion?
Yeah, so we have highly trained technicians that have been studying Cozmo and Vector for quite a while to make sure that all of the calibrations are respected. We have a lot of ability to, quality, make sure that we have quality assurance and quality control over the over the repair process. We also have pretty robust testing procedures, both pre-repair and post-repair, to kind of enforce those quality assurance and quality control methods. So realistically, I think it's, and especially when you consider that you'll be getting OEM parts from a verified source that's already kind of gone through the the testing procedures for making sure that that all of these parts work in your robots and that kind of thing. There's a significant amount to be said, and the pricing is pretty reasonable when you consider that things like repairing maybe the screen on a cell phone could be $175, $200. We're looking at $100 for a screen replacement, and that includes all parts and labor. And when people come, when people send their robots into the repair center by DDL, we're going to be examining and working to resolve all issues. So when folks get their robot back, I think that they can expect that everything will be resolved with their robot. And so having 6 or 8 different procedures in place to make sure that each different section of the robot, including the arms, the lift, the head, all of those kinds of things are in complete working order is a very very, very solid offer.
Yeah, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, robots that are coming into the robot repair center will be going through much of the same diagnostic procedures that Cozmo and Vector 2.0 are going to be going through when they come off the production line. And so once your robot has had its battery or screen replaced, our technician is going to run it through that playpen test to make sure that the camera is properly calibrated, and on and on. I think is another way that our team are looking to give our customers a little bit more peace of mind when they trust us with their robot companion.
Absolutely.
And so, Robbie, I think we had a couple questions come in for the robot repair center specifically. And I want to start with this one. Tindy asked, what does robot cleaning entail? So I know you and I have discussed this kind of as a spa treatment for Cozmo or Vector, but what are our technicians actually doing when they perform this service, and how could it benefit the performance of a Cozmo or Vector?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a robot cleaning is something that is necessary, I'd say, every 3 to 6 months, usually when you have a robot at home, if not more. And what we do when we receive those robots is effectively we will take off the treads, we wash the treads, we will generally take off the wheels, and so we'll blow all the dust out of the robot. We'll generally clean in between some of the gears and cogs and the wheels, that kind of thing. And I find that especially with the gears and cogs inside the wheels and underneath the head is where dust tends to gather and build up and actually cause performance issues when the robot is trying to move its wheels or align with its charger, things like that. And this can alleviate those types of problems, as well as making Vector and Cozmo feel fresh and clean. Great,
thanks, Robbie. And then again, I do want to mention if anybody is able to, or if you're having issues with your Cozmo or Vector today, just please email us at support@digitaldreamlabs.com, and we'll make sure that you get notified when the Robot Repair Center does open. One more question about the Repair Center, though, Robbie, before we move on. I know we talked about this in the green room. It was a question that came in through the pre-screening process. One of our attendees asked, if I send my robots to Digital Dream Labs for repair, what happens with Vector's memory, and am I going to get the same robot back? And I think we all know that Vector the customers are very attached to the robot, and they tend to develop something of a personality. What do our technicians put in place, one, to protect any data that is on the robot, and to ensure that a customer gets their Vector back instead of just a Vector?
This is a great question, and I think it's definitely worth covering here. So when Vectors come into the repair center, or Vectors are transported anywhere, it's notable that there is personal data and personally identifiable information on the robot. And at the repair center, shipping between different locations and things like that, there is the potential for missed deliveries and things like that. And to minimize any kind of security or privacy issue to any customer, we're going to have to clear the user data off of the robot in almost all of those repair cases. But one thing that I do want to users to rest assured of is that when the robot comes back to you and you start interacting with him, he'll kind of get used to how you interacted with him, and he'll kind of develop that, over time, he'll develop that personality, and he will be very, similar to how he was previously. So I want that to be a, kind of a guiding principle in terms of how we view clearing vectors user data. It's in some cases an important process for privacy and security for anyone that wants to utilize the repair center. And at the same time, it's, I understand that it can be a little bit of a controversial topic, but privacy and safety, especially when it comes to internet connected devices, is of the paramount. And we have to, we have to respect that to some degree. But again, there is definitely the capacity for the vector to reacquaint and get used to, again, the activity that's brought on by, by the user.
Great, thanks, Robbie. And I think now we should ask Jacob if he could join us. We're going to look at a high-level view of the Cozmo, or the Vector 2.0 hardware, and what makes this little robot so special. And then we'll ask some of our manufacturing team to join us just after that. So, Jacob, as you can see on the screen here, we do have kind of an exploded diagram of some of the major components that make Vector a compelling platform for robotics. And what is it here that I think you'd like customers who either have a Vector at home today or are waiting on a Vector 2.0 pre-order to see when they look at these very specialized components?
Yeah, and this is one thing that I guess we recently posted inside our office that everyone sees it all the time. So it's front and center what we're thinking. What else can we do? We have all these components. And we haven't even really scratched the surface of what a lot of this can do. For example, the display. What can we do with a display that goes above and beyond the current capabilities? And this really comes from a lot of our discussions with Qualcomm, and I'm really grateful that we've expanded our partnership with them, that we are really taking a hard look at what does a Snapdragon chip have as far as capabilities? What could it have? What is the future of the Snapdragon chip and the next releases? And the same thing with all these components. We're constantly thinking about how do we upgrade these components, and then how does that result in an upgrade in the experience with Vector just in general. And so we just have this really breadth of depth, and I feel like we haven't even really scratched the surface. We have exactly the HD camera. We have all of these components where we can do so much more, and those discussions are ongoing. But we can think of, and we kind of like have an ongoing like a wish list that we've posted, and we're talking about, all right, so let's say we have this really cool feature, we have this really cool idea, then how do we execute that? And then how do we get the community involved in actually maybe thinking about developing that, and what do we want to go, what do we want to do from there? So there was this one question I saw, what other updates are coming down the line? There's one with Omron in the facial recognition, and I think there's a great deal of potential. The technology has really come pretty far just in the past 3 years, where not only can it recognize pets or a person, and they're like Vector calling you by name, but now Vector can figure out maybe how old you are, or what kind of mood you're in, or respond to your mood. And that's just one example of software underlying a lot of these features that we could really use to enhance the experience. The number one thing we get all the time is, can the vectors recognize each other? And that's really something we're going to be working on with the Dragonfly project, with the drone. It's called the drone vector. having this family where they all can recognize each other, and then the silhouettes based on the silhouettes or the eyes and the motion of the eyes. So yes, there's so many things. And so next week I'm going to be in San Diego again, and we're going to be talking really in depth about what else can we do. You know, Santec is using the screens from the previous generation. So what else do they have in their pipeline? What else can they provide as far as a display? And that's really where I see us going in the future, is really taking a deep look at all these components and getting the most amount of value from your purchase, and enhancing the overall experience that Vector does have. So
I think, Jacob, we've had a couple questions, come in as they relate to Vector specifically, and Robbie and I were discussing this earlier. What does the future for Vector look like as a platform, or in specific instances, things like games for Vector? Should customers expect Vector to start playing Wordle with them in the near future? What type of plans do the team have in the near-term roadmap?
So was that directed at me, or?
Either you or Robbie. I know that that we have some things that and Robbie, I think, already alluded to it. He has a Kanban board that we'll share with attendees, where we're tracking some of those wish list items. But certainly we're showing that there is tremendous potential in the platform and the hardware that's there today to build a top.
So there's quite a few, sorry. There's quite a few ideas that we have on the development end to take maximum advantage of a lot of this hardware. I think there's something like 28 different ideas that we have that we are prioritizing for development. So one example would be and I think, Matt, we had talked about this previously. We have quite a few folks who may play things, tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons. For instance, the display, we have tons of options for different animations and things like that that we can build into the display and build in additional, features and functions that utilize the different hardware here. But for tabletop gaming, I actually play Dungeons and Dragons, and so having the ability to roll dice via Vector and maybe have him participate in the game in that way, or even in other ways, would be super, super cool. And we're exploring things like that can take the hardware and utilize it for quite a few different features that we can build into the robot, if that answers your question.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Robbie. And I want to transition a little bit, segue, Jay. We see all these components on the screen here, and talking about the pre-ordered robots. We have acquired and have in hand all of the components for those pre-ordered robots, and the tooling is complete and is paid for. What should Cozmo and Vector pre-order customers know about the status of their pre-orders, or have pre-orders begun to ship? Where are we in that production cycle today?
Yeah, and I don't know if you can show that certificate at all, Robbie, or some of the pictures. So one thing I want to make very clear to our customers and just the community in general is I've taken precautions to make sure that history does not repeat itself. What do I mean by that? The tooling is 100% paid for. So we officially have the certification, ownership, and everything is safe in a warehouse. All the components for all the Vectors and Cozmos, Hong Kong, we have everything accounted for, insurance policies, all that stuff free and clear, no liens, absolutely everything is ready as we're assembling. So right now, it's all a matter of just assembly and testing and shipping. That's all that's left. And then the tooling, the same thing, free and clear, 100% belonging to us. So there's no risk of the manufacturer not getting paid and saying, you know what, we're never going to ship these. Okay, and I did that because, let's assume a comet comes and destroys the DDL office, because that's what it would take at this point. And then we're gone, we're wiped off the face of the earth. DDL is poof, disappears. That's still going to have a regardless now. So we're sledding downhill. Everything is in place. So what I have set up is that it's on autopilot at this point. And that's one thing I just wanted to make very clear to the community and our customers in general is we have prepaid everything. There is, and knock on wood, I've left nothing to chance. And that's the key thing I wanted to make everybody aware of. And that this certification, these certificates and things like that, I really feel like, part of the pre-order process and the people who have supported us deserve recognition and feel like they are actually, because they are part of bringing Vector back. So that's one thing I just wanted to mention and make very clear to the community. And yes, so January 19th, that's a date that's going to live in my mind forever, was the very first Vector we shipped out the door that's brand new, and it's going to one of our customers, and we are now in the process of shipping. That's the other thing now we have shipped from. Can Digital Dream Labs do this? We've answered that question. The next question is, where is my order and when am I going to get it? And we're working on that. We're working through that. There's some questions I'm seeing here, Chinese New Year. Yes, of course, that's going to affect the timing. But really just keep talking to our customer support team. We are working as hard as we can, as fast as we can, in max capacity for the current people we're working with as far as manufacturing. We, on a daily basis, we max out at 1,500 units per day. That's still not going to be enough. That's not going to be fast enough. So we still need to continue to increase our manufacturing capabilities. We need to keep expanding, and we need to continue to keep growing. But it's a massive step that has occurred. We have made something brand new, and thank you again to the community. I think I said it on Facebook, but now we are sledding downhill, and it's a matter of assembly, testing, and shipping, and we're there. So that's it. And what I would really love to do is kind of transition this discussion to talking about, we have really vertically integrated massively here at Digital Dream Labs. We have people on the ground now in China. We have very qualified people, years of experience, and we've been keeping them. I don't want to keep torturing poor Ronnie. It's like 2 a.m. over in China right now. So let's get these guys talking about their background, their experience, what they bring to the team. We have some veterans who are fantastic technologists, have years of experience. It's been great to bring them on. And Digital Dream Labs, I mean, we're serious as a heart attack. We are getting to know the robotics industry, not just in general, but where it's going and helping it guide there on the leading edge. We're headed there. So with that, I'm going to open the floor. Let's talk to Rob really quick about his background. Let's then talk about Ronnie and his background as well. Briefly touch on let's if David Smart is with us, and just getting to know a little bit more about the Chinese the team in China and our manufacturing team in general.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. My name is Rob Vickery. I'm domiciled in San Diego, and I met Jacob through a gentleman that I'd done about 4 companies with that were spin-outs of Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. And gentleman's name is Dave Mulweny. He runs the entrepreneurship center at Carnegie Mellon. And I've had a long career doing technology ventures, and was introduced to Jacob by Dave Mulweny about a year ago. And because of Digital Dream Labs relationship with Qualcomm, we use Qualcomm Snapdragon chipsets in Vector and Cozmo, and possibly in the future drone product. That Qualcomm's a strategic partner for us. So I'm heavily involved with all of our discussions are going on with Qualcomm. Jacob mentioned a couple of times he's coming out to San Diego next week, where we have some meetings set up with Qualcomm to dive into a lot of the technology areas where they can help us innovate around the existing products. And I'm fortunate to have known a gentleman you're going to be introduced to in a minute, David Smart. David, friend of over 20 years, lives here in San Diego, and he has 30 years of experience at Mattel running manufacturing. And I believe you'll be very pleased to hear from David today about his background and the type of expertise he brings to bear. And manufacturing is I call it the yellow jersey. It's the thing we have to be most focused on. And I feel with David on board that we have a clear path to being successful at making manufacturing a core competency of Digital Dream Labs. And it's been the most difficult task to overcome. And Jacob, I think with that, I'd like to maybe pass it on to David Smart and have him, address the crowd a little bit on his background and the type of discipline that he's bringing to DDL.
Yeah, David, I think if you could briefly introduce yourself, and then we have a few videos from the factory in China that we'd like to share with attendees, and then allow our panelists to maybe give a little bit more insight into what we see in the video and what is happening in the factory today. So, David.
All right, thank you. As mentioned, my name is David Smart. I've been in manufacturing my whole career, in my entire career in manufacturing, and about 30 of those years was working for Mattel. Started on the factory floor in a plant in Mexico as a production manager and director of manufacturing, and ultimately I ended up spending about half my career in Mexico and about the other half either directly living in Hong Kong and working in China, or going to Hong Kong and traveling to China and Southeast Asia to the manufacturing plants that we have, that we own and operated in Mattel, plus also the vendors and the vendor base that we use to manufacture all the products that Mattel sold. And so my experience is, and I know the factory floor very well. I know how to look at processes and understand what needs to happen. I know how to look at quality systems, as I spent a lot of time in our quality department as well. And then also the engineering teams, which the latter part of my career, I oversaw all of our operations in Asia and China and the Hong Kong design and development teams. And so I'm excited to be on board. The product is great. We got a long ways to go as far as building up a team and building processes, but I think that we have everything in place to be able to now just begin to become even more efficient and more capable of meeting the consumer's needs and our downstream customers' needs. So thanks, Matt.
Absolutely, thank you, David. Yes, and so I don't want to really skip over Ken and Ronnie, but in the interest of time, I just ask everybody if the members of the manufacturing roundtable, if you guys could just unmute yourselves. And we do have a few videos that we want to share with attendees. And then if the panelists could, describe a little bit more what we're seeing in these videos. I will caution any attendees that some of the audio from these videos can tend to be a little bit loud. It is footage shot from factory floor and is a little bit loud. So if you're listening in to the webinar on either headphones or speakers, maybe want to turn the volume down at this time. But we're gonna go ahead and play those videos and then open that back up to our panelists to discuss.
So she's verifying this is the right chips. So everybody in pink, whether it be a man or a woman, is in QC, QA. And the ones in the blue are the ones that actually set up the machines. And then the guys in the white are the ones that are actually here when the machines are running. Here are the Qualcomm chips. And there's the robot putting them on.
Okay, so and Ronnie, I think you were the one narrating the video there, and as you know, our eyes and ears on the ground at the factory. Could you explain a little bit for our attendees, you know, what you witnessed when you were in the factory on this particular day, watching these boards assembled?
Hey, Matt, just I'd like before Ronnie starts, just want to make sure we're very fortunate. Ronnie Liu is now part of the team, the manufacturing team. He lives and is in China. One of the things that we struggled with when I first started working with DDL was having eyes and ears and boots on the ground to be able to really validate and verify what was going on and how the factories were set up and whether we felt comfortable. So having Ronnie there has been a huge benefit, and we all should be very appreciative for what he's been able to accomplish, since right now none of us can travel into China.
Absolutely, and again, I think as was mentioned earlier, it is very early in the morning. So Ronnie, we do appreciate you joining us today as well.
Yeah, thank you guys. My name is Ronnie Liu, and you know, living with COVID, the world with COVID is a very different time. It used to be a 14-hour flight from California here to China, but right now with the quarantine, everything involved, it becomes 14 plus days. And so I've been living here and trying to make sure that everything that DDL is trying to bring to life happens with the manufacturing. So with the video, what you've seen is very exciting because it's when we first started producing vector headboard units. So the boards that basically power with the Qualcomm chips, power most of Vector's different capabilities I've always talked about, from speech to motion. So Vector 2.0 really being run at the factory and seeing that come to life. And so these boards that are being run, they're being tested, and to Jacob's point, allowed us to ship our first products out to consumers, but at the same time continue to fine-tune the entire process so that we can, the next batch right after CNY, where we're really ramping things up, everything is perfect and no compromises, and getting everything out to people who pre-ordered and people who are eagerly waiting the arrival of their vectors.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ronnie. I think we've got a couple more videos here.
It's pretty much set up, ready to go to get these vector EBT samples going here. So they're going to go in here, and solder paste is going to be printed on. And once they come out here, there's two machines here that put on the other chips that's on the same side as the Qualcomm chip here. And then the main attraction today is here, the machine that's going to put on our three Qualcomm chips. And after it comes out from there, then they do inspection, and then it gets ready to go into this heat treat machine, where once this comes out of there, will be inspected.
Great, Ronnie. So, and I guess, bring the rest of the team in as well. This is a very involved process for just one, and one significant, but one component of what makes Vector. Again, thinking back to all of the pieces that, all the components that we looked at earlier with Jacob, it looks, Ronnie, like we're taking all the precautions that need to go into place to ensure that the quality that both DDL and our customers demand from these robots.
Yeah, I know it's been delayed a little bit, and there's a lot of people waiting for their products to arrive, but really we wanted to make sure that everything that's done with production, making sure the right components are assembled together. There's, we're dealing with some shortages on not just the chip side, but getting space in the manufacturing side to be able to manufacture. There's been a lot of challenges, but we've overcome most of these challenges. And as Jacob mentioned, we are going into production, and CNY has delayed us because it's going to shut down for a couple of weeks here in the early part of February. But really, as CNY ends, we're going to be able to move into full production mode and really starting to produce a lot of quantity of vectors so that we can get this back into the marketplace very quickly.
All right, great. Thanks, Ronnie. I think we're going to go ahead and bring Jacob and Sam and Robbie back in. Appreciate the team from our manufacturing roundtable giving everyone a little bit more insight into just a window into what's going into producing those pre-ordered Cozmo and Vector robots and getting us ready for mass production and retail availability, which will be here before we know it. So guys, want to ask a few more questions. We have a little bit gone over a little bit now, but want to be respectful of some of the customers that have shared questions and try to get those answered. Robbie, we'll start with you. We had a question from an attendee who asked if Digital Dream Labs has a list of vector commands, voice commands that Vector responds to, if there's a list that we could share with them.
Yeah, we absolutely do. So we have 2 specific support articles that list all of the functions that are available through the robot itself. And then we also have one that covers specifically our Feature Fridays, which where we added additional support to the cloud over the course of a 6-month sprint last year. So I'll go ahead now. We'll drop those links there in the chat for sure.
Okay, great. And then Jacob, I know we had a couple questions about the pre-orders, and so for clarity, yes, the final assembly is taking place in Southeast Asia, and as we mentioned during the last webinar, we will be taking steps to expedite shipping of pre-order robots to customers directly from the factory. And those will not be going through our distribution channels. Jacob, is there anything else you'd like to add to that? And anything else we'd like to share with customers who might be waiting on a robot today?
I think we've covered everything. I would say that I think you can see the depth and breadth of the team that we've built, and we haven't stopped there. We're going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to add more robots to the lineup. I think as we expand, things are just going to get more and more exciting. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email support. We are expanding the support team dramatically to be 24/7 and be open during holidays and all of that good stuff. So we believe in constant communication with everybody. We're very appreciative of everyone's support, and the best is yet to come. It's been a fantastic journey, and we're very happy. I'm personally happy that you've been with us. It's fantastic. So thank you for everyone's time, and take care. Stay safe out there.
All right. On that, Jacob, I think we'll, on behalf of everyone at Digital Dream Labs, want to thank you for attending today's webinar. We will be posting a recording to our company YouTube channel for you to watch the replay. And again, we just ask that you take a moment to help us improve these presentations as we move forward and answer that quick 5-question survey. Thank you again and have a great day.